Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of A Millennial's Guide to Real Estate Investing. Today I have Matt Aitchinson. He's a real estate investor who lives in Sacramento, California. He's been flipping houses for a number of years now, used to flip 30 to 50 homes a year, and now he is investing in other commercial assets like retail strip centers, hotels, and we'll get into all that kind of stuff. But thanks so much for coming on the show today, Matt.
Hey, glad to be here, brother.
Absolutely. Yeah, so tell everybody a little bit more about you, how you got started, when you got started in real estate investing, and kind of how things, evolved from there.
Yeah, I got started really right out of college. I had this expensive piece of paper in my hand, and I was interviewing at a bunch of basically $40,000 jobs, and I was like, man, this
Oh,
is
wow.
this is definitely not gonna get me to where I want to go. I'd always known that I wanted to kind of live that um, entrepreneur's lifestyle. Both my parents were individuals who had kind of done what that time was told to do, which was just essentially work really, really hard and kind of climb the corporate ladder. So both of my parents worked in corporate America for 25 plus years. And both of them, I saw how underpaid, underappreciated, and overworked they were. And they kept saying, hey, like you can go out and do something bigger and better than this. So I kind of had that seed planted in my mind at an early age, and my mom was taking me to real estate investing conferences when I was 12, 13, 14, 15. And so I was seeing all these people, cashing in on big checks. And this is really, I don't want to say it's before the info and education space really blew up, but at least blew up to what we know it today. Back then, this was, maybe 15 or so years ago. And so I just remember going, man, I want to be one of those people one day up on stage, cashing those big checks, inspiring and motivating people. And so I ended up kind of creating a career hit list of all the things that I wanted to accomplish in my life, my career. And I knew that I wanted to be my own boss. I wanted, the freedom and flexibility that went along with that. I wanted unlimited earning potential, so no ceiling on what I could make income-wise. I wanted to help people achieve their goals. That was something that was important to me. I wanted, of course, lifestyle design. Being 21 right out of college, I wanted that sexiness of being able to travel and buy, whatever I want, whenever I want, right? And also having that time freedom. And when I kept going down the list, there was one thing that kept coming back to me was I didn't want to just check all those boxes and create an income. I also wanted to be in a space that allowed me to actually create long-term wealth. And real estate kept coming back as kind of the number one vehicle that allowed me to do that. And so I remember going on Craigslist one day, and I was broke, living at home. Obviously, I didn't have a job yet. I could barely pay my dad any kind of rent and money for groceries. I had all kinds of credit card debt, of course, and about $800 in my savings. And I remember seeing this Craigslist ad for, basically come make $10,000 a month. I'm sure we've all seen those bandit signs in the ground. Come work for a seasoned investor, mentor, mentee kind of relationship. Long story short, I ended up meeting a gentleman who I ended up working for about 10 months for free.
Wait, so you actually
And
called one of those ads?
I called it, dude.
I
I called.
always wondered what the hell is on the other line.
Yeah, yeah. Basically, it's
Wow.
people looking for free labor and or individuals, free labor for mentorship and or they get you kind of in the door, right? And they upsell you into a course or a coaching program or a mentorship program.
Okay, got
And
it.
so long story short, I ended up working for this guy in 2010. He was flipping about 100 houses a year. And this is when, foreclosures were everywhere. You could sneeze and come across the deal and clip $50,000. So I was essentially doing everything from acquisition to project management to disposition, and he was making like 50K, per house, and he was basically paying me about $1,000 here and there. But I was definitely not getting any kind of commissions or really what I probably deserved at that time. But I got the price of that education and really that exposure and being in proximity to somebody who had the results that I wanted. And so I did that for 10 months for free, and I saw how much money he was making. I was like, okay, I can do this. I got to figure out how I'm going to go out and find these deals for myself and raise the funds for it. Had no clue how I was going to do it, but I was, number one, convicted that that is what was going to happen. And so long story short, I ended up finding my first flip that I made $100,000 net profit on using 100% of other people's money. And I said, okay, I think I found my path to at least increasing my income. And as I started doing that over the years, I'd flipped hundreds of houses. I started partnering in a construction company and built up a construction company as well. We were a top 1,000 real estate team, so I had a real estate kind of traditional leg of my business model as well. And I started buying rental properties along the way, and of course got lucky with the timing back in 2011 to today. Been riding the market up from there, and that started allowing me to get into duplexes and quadplexes and then retail strip centers. And I bought a hotel up in Lake Tahoe, and just starting to kind of go higher up the totem pole of real estate investing. And now I get to travel around and speak on stages and at masterminds and coach and mentor people, which is really a big passion of mine. But just continuing to swing the axe on the tree trunk of real estate every single day and try and leverage it to the best of my abilities to unlock the vision and the goals and the achievements that I'm looking to unlock as a real estate investor.
Love it, man. Awesome story. So when you did join that mentorship program with that guy, was that right out of college? Then you started working for this guy right out of college?
Yeah.
Is that when it was?
Okay. I basically spent 3-4 months, searching around for a
Okay,
job
got it.
and feeling sorry for myself.
Yeah.
And I can't find any good opportunities. And
Yeah,
what am I
yeah.
going to do? I'm still living at home with my parents.
Yeah.
That whole kind of that story that I think a lot of people relate to. It's kind of that cliched story, but it's cliche because it's so common for so
Yep.
many people, right? Of just not knowing. I know what I want. I know I want a big life. I want big income. I want a big lifestyle. I want to have big impact, big influence. But most people just don't know and lack that clarity in how they're going to get there, right? And
Yeah.
so clarity often doesn't come from, in my opinion, thinking and trying to find the answer. It really comes from action and connecting the dots and following the breadcrumbs along the way, and just being okay with the fact that you probably aren't going to have a lot of the answers when you want them.
Yeah.
But if you know at least what direction you need to be moving in, and you can be aware enough to start connecting the dots along the way, you're going to figure it out. You surround yourself with the right people, the right resources. You can continue to take consistent action. It's only a matter of time. It's inevitable that you're going to start to get some results and start at least being able to gather that data and that feedback and start using it in a way that helps you start putting the picture together of what you want your life to look like, or your business or your career to look like. And so that's where I was early on, 21 years old. But that first deal really kind of gave me the confidence to at least continue down that path. That first 10 months or 12 months of my real estate investing journey, as well as my retail journey, because I was trying to be a realtor and supplement my income at the same time, I thought about quitting, I think 6 or 7 times, like legitimate, like I'm going to go get a job. This is
Damn.
crazy. What am I doing? Who am I to think that I'm going to go out and be a real estate investor when I'm living at home? I have no money. I have no savings. I have no ability to qualify for a mortgage. I've never
Yeah.
even bought a house before.
Yeah.
And so it was a lot of those limiting beliefs and fears, which I know a lot of people relate to. A lot of the people I coach and mentor and that are in, our academy, they have all those same fears.
Yep.
And so I think for me, it was having the right people around me that kind of lended that confidence to me. Like, hey, you're doing the right stuff. You're going to be successful. I see those qualities and those capabilities in you, right? That was a big piece of it, to kind of overcome those doubts. And then obviously the fears of, what if I make a mistake, or what if I get sued, or what if I lose money, or all of those things, right?
Yeah.
But when you get that first one under the belt, I'm sure everybody listening to this podcast right now, what you're doing today, there's one thing that you could probably immediately come to mind and say, what I'm doing today was once a big fear for me, or was a big stretch for me, but now it's just normal for you.
Yep.
And so for me, it was kind of overcoming that first fear and looking back and, all right, I'm still whole. My heart's still beating. Like, I still have the ability to continue moving forward. And when those fears start to become at least overcome, then it turns into confidence. And I started to feel myself become a little bit more dangerous, a little bit more capable, a little bit more confident in my ability to go out and start doing the things that I want to do, even though I may not have all the answers. And obviously that parlayed into another deal and then another deal, right? And
Yeah.
a couple hundred deals later,
Yeah.
I've been flipping houses for the last 10 years.
Yeah, love it. And so talk a little bit about being you mentioned something that's interesting that I hear a lot of people talk about is they want to get into real estate investing, and then they, in the meantime, to kind of get up their capital, they think they become a realtor and start doing the whole realtor and retail side of things. So talk a little bit about your experience with that. Normally, I tell people, if you want to be an investor, don't go down the realtor path, just because it takes so much goddamn time and it's completely different to the investing side. So talk a little bit about that, and when you knew, like, okay, this realtor thing is not going to work out, I need to just focus on because they're two different businesses and they both require, in my opinion, both full-time attention in order to have any success. So talk a little bit about that time balance you had back then.
Yeah, I was working like 90 hours a week, and this was when I was 21. I didn't have anything else to do but work and hustle and grind, right? And I remember that first year as a realtor, I think it was about $48,000. And for the amount of time that I worked, how many weeks out of the year I worked, how much time I took off, and how much hourly time I put in per week, my hourly rate when I calculated it out was like $12 an hour. And I remember telling my grandma, I walked into my grandma's house one day, and how are you doing as a real estate investor and real estate professional? And well, I made $48,000 this year, and really came out to about $12 an hour, and I was kind of feeling down. And she looks at me and she goes, "Damn, Matthew, you could have worked at Starbucks and made that money." And I was like, shit, so for me, it was like, man, if I'm going to do this, I have to find a way to increase the ROI on my time. Mm-hmm. And when I got that first flip done, I made $106,000 net after paying out all the investors. And for the amount of time that I put in from start to finish, acquisition to rehab to disposition, it was about 30 hours total on the whole process. Wow. And my hourly rate on that was like $34, $33 an hour. It was like $3,400 an hour. And I was like, okay, this is the vehicle that is going to allow me to increase the ROI on my time, as well as give me the true income, vertical income, to go out and start buying passive income streams and build out my horizontal platform of mailbox money. And so, it was one of those things where I, at the time, was about 3 years into it. Our real estate team was one of the top. I had a business partner in my traditional real estate team, and I was still flipping, and I had a construction company that we were building up at the time as well. And that year where I looked at my income, and I'd spent about a quarter of my time in my flipping business and made 4 times the amount of money that I made in my traditional retail business. Wow. And so it became evident that at the end of the day, if you just do the true numbers of things, I can go over here, and if I were to allocate the other 75% of that time that was being taken up in the retail business and put it and double down on it in my investing business and the construction business, which were really a lot more synergistic, I was going to climb and level up a lot faster. And I also wasn't passionate about being a realtor. At the end of the day, being a realtor is, oh, you don't like those drapes, or you don't like this or that, and you're kind of a punching bag for people, right? And it's very emotionally driven. Real estate investing, black and white, numbers driven, emotionless, data driven. And so that just aligned with my personality and my passions a lot more. And so for me, I knew that I was going to need to really make sure that what was most aligned with my long-term goal was actually getting the majority of my attention. And so I transitioned out of my traditional real estate team and sold out my shares to my partner and kind of negotiated some royalties for 2 years and some commissions. But other than that, it was like, okay, it's time to go all in on the real estate investing business, because if I want to get to where I want to go, I need to understand that what is required is not going to be me pushing 2 or 3 wheelbarrows up a hill. Yeah. And that's often something that I talk to a lot of people about is, what is required to get the result that you want? Because what's required for me to go out and find a flip that makes me $100,000 might be different for you, might be different for the next person. So understanding what is required to get the results that you want, and then being willing to put in the work on that, is something that a lot of people, I think, romanticize incorrectly about. They look at real estate investing and go, oh, I'm going to make a lot of money and I'm going to get rich, and that person did it, so I can go and do it too, which, yes, is true, but it may be completely different in at least the formula of what goes into getting that result when you're first starting out, and obviously building out the team and the resources and the confidence and all of those variables. So it was one of those things where I knew that if I wanted to achieve the level of success that I had in mind for myself, and unlock, the financial freedom and the net worth growth and just playing in the arena, in the sandbox that I was passionate about, I needed to go all in on that. And that's what led me to kind of transitioning out as a traditional realtor, being that, one, I just wasn't passionate about it. Two, it wasn't most congruent and synergistic with the goals that I had for my life. Therefore, I had to say no to it.
Yep. Got it. Love it. And then let's talk about that first deal. So at that time, you were probably 21, 22 years old still. You said you
Yep.
raised the full amount of money from other people. So one big question I get, and a lot of people listening are millennials, are, out of college, first or second job, and they want to do what me and you have done. And their biggest fear is, how the hell am I going to raise money? I'm only 21, 22 years old. So how did you go about raising money for that first project? Obviously, that mentor taught you a lot about the acquisition side, running the numbers, maybe how to raise money. But then how did you leave that mentor and go and do it yourself and do it successfully? And how did you kind of set up the deal as well, to where, was it an equity? Was it a private money loan or some sort of lending? How did you do it?
Yeah, so I was running around town at 3, 4 in the morning for a couple weeks on end, putting up bandit signs, getting people calling me to get my ugly ass bandit sign out of their neighborhood. And I think it was like call number 356. I think it was in the 350s that I got that one call that every investor is kind of waiting for and their ears perk up. And it was all of the reasons why someone would be motivated. It was their mother's property, deferred maintenance. She had medical issues. They were going through some financial hardship. He wanted to relocate her to Seattle, closer to home. And so I was fired up. I remember going over to that house. And as I'm walking up to the house, I'm 20, I think I was 22 at the time. I have my clipboard and I'm all dressed up and, I'm walking in all dorky, right, trying to be all professional. And I remember as I'm walking up to the door, I could already halfway up the driveway smell cat pee. So I was like, okay. So I'm walking up, they opened the door and it was like Mike Tyson punched me with, a fistful of cat piss. And the woman's house was a hoarder house. She was the neighborhood cat lady. And when I say that, she had over 100 stray cats in and out of her house at one time.
Oh my God.
And I ended up, walking in there, doing the walkthrough. I went, sat down at the table, basically, uncovered what their motivations were, what their price point was, and long story short, ended up purchasing the house for $75,000. I put about 30 into it, and I sold it for $225,000. I remember I signed that deal, and I had already kind of crunched the numbers, knowing, hey, I'm going to probably be able to go up to $120,000 on this deal. He said, if you can give us 75 and close in 10 days, it's yours. And I remember walking out of there, and I started doing the Aaron Rodgers discount double check. I'm Tiger Woods fist pumping it, right? And then I get into my car, and I'm like, oh, shit, I still live at home. I have $800 in my bank account. There's no way I'm going to be able to fund this deal.
Yeah.
But again, the way I changed, it's all about the questions you ask yourself. Instead of saying, why can't I do this? It's how am I going to make this happen?
Yeah.
What is the way that I can go about raising funds and making sure that if somebody dangled $100,000 payday in front of you and said, you just need to go and find a way to raise $75,000, every single person listening to this podcast right now would go, shit, I'll do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Right. And so that was my mentality of going, I will do whatever it takes to get the outcome. Obviously, staying in integrity, being ethical, right? Staying in alignment with my core values, but I will do whatever it takes to go and ensure that I get this deal closed. So anyways, I ended up talking to as many people as I could, and they said, go out, talk to as many hard money lenders as you can, see how much money they'll give you. And a good way to stress test the deal as to whether or not it really is a deal or not is to have other lenders and investors look at it, poke holes in it, and if they're willing to give you, in this case, which they were, almost as much money as they could possibly lend me outside of 100% financing, the hard money first position lender gave me 90% of my purchase price and 100% of my rehab.
Wow.
At I think it was like 10% and maybe 2 or 3 points. So I had to come up with, okay, cool. I'm more than halfway there, right?
Yeah,
I just need to go and find that 10% remaining to close, and I need to raise a little bit extra, being that I have no money in my savings account while I'm holding and flipping this property for all the holding costs of paying the first mortgage lender and any other things that I need to. So I need to make sure I account for all of those funds as well and include that in my second position loan. So I went out and I think I talked to probably 20 or 30 people. After they all said no, I got that one person that basically lent me that 10% of the remaining down payment as well as the holding costs, and they were in second position, and I was giving them 10%, I think 3 points on their money. So I didn't have anybody sharing in the equity. It was all debt.
Nice.
And on that first deal, I remember signing at the closing table 100% using other people's money, going, man, if I can just go out and find more deals and more opportunities, I can go and raise the funds for these deals. So hundreds of flips later, I would say maybe on a dozen of them, I've used some of my own funds for down payment money, but majority of them, over 95% of the deals that I've done, have been 100% other people's money, no equity sharing, all debt. And that's been my model for, raising money on my flips.
Love it.
And it's been very, very lucrative. It's a win-win for everybody. Of course, making sure that the numbers pencil and everybody's money's safe. I've never lost an investor's money. I hope that I never do and never obviously plan to, but that was one of those things where I was going, you find a great deal, the money will follow the deal.
Yeah.
You just have to ensure that you're buying it right. You got the right plan in place. You got the right team in place, and you just got to execute.
Yep.
Just got to execute. And so that was my first deal, and that was a life-changing deal. I always tell people all it takes is one opportunity to completely change your life, but you got to be in the game, right? Like, I don't know any baseball player, legendary or not, that is batted 1,000% in the batter's box, but they get in there every time. They strike out, but they also get on base, right? And that's how I look at real estate investing is, the fans, the spectators do not get paid. They don't make the big bucks. It's the people that are in the game, right? And yes, they strike out. Yes, they're flawed. Yes, they have bad days. Yes, they have good days. But in order to get on base, in order to score runs, in order to win the game, you got to be in the game. And so that's where if you have the right team around you, the right coaches, the right mentors, you can connect all those other dots, and you'll be surprised. You might have some foul tips. You might strike out, but you do it enough, you step into that batter's box enough, you are going to get on base. You are going to start scoring some runs.
Love it. And then also the second position lender that you had, was that a hard money lender, or was that just like
it was a private lender? It was a family friend that
got it.
Had kind of come through. Hey, you know what? I'm not interested in this. A little too risky for me, but my cousin might be interested in this opportunity. And then I ended up talking with that individual. And so it was one of those things where the more people you talk to, right, you're just one more no closer to the yes. Just, again, it didn't matter if it was 30 people or 300 people. I was going to continue talking to as many people as I possibly could, because there was nothing that was going to get in the way of me and that $100,000 payday, which completely changed my whole life.
Love it. Awesome. And then, so I'm assuming then slowly from there, you just you got out of the retail side. You're like, damn, this shit works. I just made $100,000. Now I can go and do it again and again and again and again. And
no, I was actually still grinding away in my real estate business as well. So
really?
what I started doing, that was probably 3 years after that. I did 3 years of the retail side as well. And I had a real estate partner. She was kind of the quote unquote rainmaker on the retail side of our team. Then we also had at the peak 8 agents working on our team, a team of 15 plus people total. And so we were definitely, moving and shaking on that side. And at the same time, it was somewhat synergistic to my investing business because every listing appointment that, my partner, our agents were going on, we were giving them the 3-prong approach, talking about, hey, we'll do, we can list your house on the retail market, try and sell it for top dollar, or we can give you a cash offer, have it closed in, 7 days or less, or we can consult with you and use my construction company and tell you what you need to do to the house in order to get it in condition where we can sell it for top dollar. So we were kind of using that approach. And I would say maybe of 100 listings we'd go on, 5 to 10 people would take the cash offer. So it was also a way for me to continue to generate leads on my investing business and
Got it.
still capture some income in the bucket of the retail business.
Got it. Okay, cool. And then why have you, let's talk a little bit about now today and why you've kind of slowed down on the flipping houses in California, because you were doing all these in Sacramento, all the flips that you've done.
Sacramento to Silicon Valley, Tri-Counties area in Sacramento, and then really all over East Bay, North Bay, San Fran.
Okay.
So it was all over really.
Got it.
And the reason I expanded out there was, the same house that I was doing out here and buying it for $300,000 and putting 30 into it was the exact same house in the Bay Area, but 4 times the price tag.
Yeah.
So we started expanding our reach and our bandwidth out into the Bay Area a little bit.
Got it.
And it was all over kind of that region that I was flipping houses.
Got it. And then talk a little bit about why you've kind of slowed down that side. Is it because of the market? Are you nervous, or kind of what's going on, and why, did you go from 50 houses a year to however many you're doing now?
Couple different reasons. One is because of the market, and the numbers and the margins are just getting compressed. There's a lot of people, over the last decade with all the education communities and events and seminars of mom and pops and people just coming into the space and thinking that they're a flipper and they're going to make money, and then they overpay, and then they get beat up and they exit. But there's a lot of those people that have come in and out, and I was one of them, right? I was one person that was like, hey, I'm a new investor. I went to an event and I had the right mentors around me, and so I was consistently taking action. So I never want to shit on anybody who's out there chasing dreams and goals. Number one. But it's just become more of a crowded space, and I have seen margins drastically compress. I think it was last year, I had to make 5 times as many offers to get 5 times as many offers to get a third of them accepted.
Wow. Jesus Christ.
So the amount, so that in itself, I was like, man, are we off here? We had to sit down with the acquisition team. Like, what are we doing wrong here? And we started tracking all of the properties that we were offering on, what they were selling for on acquisition side, and then what they were disposing for.
Yeah.
And over 80% of the properties that we saw and tracked were losing money.
Wow.
So it just told me, okay, like, we're not off. Other people are just overpaying for properties right now, being way too optimistic on what they can sell them for.
Yeah.
They think that they can rehab them for 50 when really it's going to be 100.
Yeah.
So it was one of those things where writing was on the wall a little bit, and I said, okay, well, change happens. So how do we remain nimble and flexible and pivot? And we know that market's going to come back eventually.
Yeah.
There will be high distressed opportunities, but we're in a market right now where, it's been in a seller's bull market for quite some time.
Yeah.
And everybody thinks their house is worth more than it is. Unemployment is low, right? People got money in the bank. People are pulling cash out of their houses. So the motivation levels and the distress that is in the market right now is very, very fractional.
Yeah.
So it was one of those things where I said, okay, I know that we're going to have to, be able to look for and find opportunities in different capacities.
Got it.
And so that's where just the margins, again, they got compressed. And I started looking at other commercial investment opportunities, and also this was kind of tied to my long-term vision as well. Flipping is vertical income at the end of the day. Unless you are somebody who's got a big team and you're doing high volume and you really are leveraged out of it, you're showing up for a job. Like, you got to be the one who's pounding the pavement on those opportunities in order to make that income, or else it doesn't happen if you're not the one doing it. And so for us, I said, okay, I'm going to I pretty much set my flipping business on autopilot, and so we'll do probably 10 to 15 this year, and it requires literally 0% of my time. All that time has been allocated more towards commercial real estate, which is larger deals, greater cash flow, and more long-term focused. So for me, that was something that I knew was aligned with my long-term vision of my lifestyle and the freedom and the income and the net worth growth that I was looking to achieve and accomplish. So that's really been the axe I've been sharpening over the last few years, and continuing to swing at, this tree trunk of commercial real estate, knowing that at the end of the day, it is more aligned with the stepping stones that are going to get me to the vision I have for my life, for my business, for the freedom I'm looking to create.
Gotcha. Cool. And then let's talk a little bit about this hotel, and how this came about, and what just tell me a little bit more about it. I haven't had anybody on the podcast yet who has invested in hotels or done a hotel. So tell me a little bit more about what you're thinking and what your goal is with the hotel.
Yeah. So the hotel was, one of those things that it just kind of came across my plate, to be honest, through my Instagram. And that is, as I guess dark and crazy as social media can be sometimes, there's obviously, some bright spots that come out of it as well. Getting to connect with other great people like yourself and, other like-minded individuals, and adding value to people and generating opportunities. I put out onto my Instagram all the time what I'm looking for, what I'm doing. I give people kind of a window into, my life and what, I would like to have, and also, some of the things that I need help with or whatever. So I'm very intentional about using my Instagram in a strategic way. And this hotel opportunity came across my plate, and essentially it ended up being, on paper, something that looked really good. It looked really good. And, as many deals as I've been in, I just kind of overlooked the fact that I was actually buying not just an asset, but I was buying a business. I was buying a brand. And so that has been quite an undertaking, probably the most challenging project of my life. But I also know that this short-term rental and sharing economy is only going to continue to gain momentum. And I know that when you can crack the code in hospitality, there is some massive, massive, massive upside, and the multiples in that space, not only on the cash flow but on the asset value, are much greater than really a lot of other asset classes in real estate. And so for me, it was kind of a challenge that I wanted to take on. It's up in Lake Tahoe, which is one of my favorite places in the world. I'm about an hour and a half drive from there. Obviously a very touristy destination that has many different seasons and a lot of people coming and going. And so the price was right on this opportunity, and we have been rebranding the entire asset, repositioning the entire asset from condition to design to online digital footprint to pretty much anything and everything. And so it's been one of those things where I've got my teeth kicked in, to be honest, a couple times. And we're now turning a corner to where, profits are starting to come in, and we're starting to work through all the kinks and, get the team dialed in and really understand the market. And so it gets pretty exciting. So now that we've got that dialed in, my goal is to probably buy 2 or 3 more up there, and start using the economies of scale to our favor to increase our margins, to increase our footprint up there. And why I love the hotel up in Tahoe is, number one, it's a tangible asset, right, that can generate passive income, and obviously many other ancillary benefits that we all know real estate can provide. 2, it has the ability for me to create memories and experiences and partake in the asset. It's not something where you put a tenant in there, you just collect a check every month, and I can actually go on site. I can host as many people as I want. I can share in memories and experiences that mean something to me. And that was also a factor in why I ended up purchasing the asset as well.
Awesome.
So we shall see how it pencils out, but I would say this last 2 months we've started to turn a corner with the property, and it's been quite a learning curve. I'll say that much.
That's awesome. Are you guys going to list all the units on? You mentioned Airbnb, so are you going to list them all on Airbnb, or are you doing the traditional kind of hotel route?
Both.
Got it.
Yeah. So they are on Airbnb. It's the Play Park Lodge. So for anybody that wants to check it out and come stay up in Tahoe. We redesigned all of our units, but it's Play Park Lodge. We have it on Airbnb, and then we have it on integrated on, I think, about 12 other platforms.
Got it.
Like Travelocity, Hotels.com, Booking.com, right? You name it, go down the list. HomeAway, VRBO, and so we're starting to see. And again, it's a reposition, right? So it just takes some time for guests to get there, give feedback, that show up online, right? Return guests. just get that brand built not only locally in the community, but also, in the online channels that we're marketing to. So it's about we're giving it about a 24 to 36 month reposition timeline to either refi or exit or trade up. So that'll be something that time will tell.
Love it. Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. It was great to have you. I learned a lot about you and how you started and now how you scaled up into multiple different avenues. So for the people listening, how can they get in touch with you? What's the best way to get in touch with you, learn more about you, et cetera, et cetera?
Official Matty A is my Instagram where I post most of my content. They can always listen to my podcast, Millionaire Mindcast, Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. I put out content each and every week, and I'm kind of cool. We got top 50 entrepreneur podcasts in iTunes, top 100 business podcasts in iTunes. So that's kind of really cool, and excited about that. And anybody can just email me, Matty A, Mattya at millionairemindcast.com. I always love connecting, seeing how I can add value, be a resource for anybody in the real estate space that's looking to, unlock and create the lifestyle that they desire, know real estate or think real estate can provide for them, and happy to be a resource. So feel free to email me there as well.
Love it. Awesome, Matt. Thanks for coming on.
Appreciate it, brother.